Hello and welcome to yet another study. My name is Erick Magwaro. Be sure to have listened to the first study I did entitled Who Created God, for this will be a second episode to the study. Today we are looking at the evidence for God outside of the Bible. One of the arguments I have heard against Christianity is that you have to throw away logic and reason and just blindly believe. That is not how the Bible defines faith. Hebrews 11 verse 1 defines faith as the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. God will never ask you to believe in anything without giving you evidence. Faith is not a science stopper. It is not the same as invoking the God of the gaps. That is to say, if you don't know how lightning forms or what tornadoes are about, you just plug God into the gaps of your knowledge and say, God did it and that's all I care about. That is not Christianity. The Bible encourages us to have a reason for our faith. 1 Peter 3:15 says, "But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you for the reason of the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear." Listen to how Richard Dawkins, an evolutionist, defines Christianity. He says, delusion is a persistent false belief held in the face of strong contradictory evidence, especially as a symptom of a psychiatric disorder. God is a delusion and a pernicious delusion. When one person suffers from a delusion, it is called insanity. When many people suffer from it, it is called religion. Now, these are very strong words. The purpose of this study is to show you that this statement is true for evolution and not Christianity. Let's look at the first evidence for God. The beginning of the universe. There is plenty of evidence which all scientists now accept that the universe had a beginning. Anything that begins to exist has a cause. The cause has to be a thing other than the thing that began to exist. Therefore, the universe has a cause, and the cause has to be timeless, spaceless, and immaterial, because the universe is made of time, space, and matter. And that is exactly how the Bible describes the cause of the universe, which I am calling God, and I have already answered this in my first study. So whatever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause. The cause is the uncaused cause, who is the God of the Bible. Evidence number 2. Information points to a mind. Every time you are confronted by densely packed information, there must be an intelligent mind behind it. A dictionary does not come into existence as a result of an explosion in a library. Suppose you want to have a bowl of alphabetic cereal. So you go into the kitchen and you see that the bowl is knocked over, and right in the middle of the table, the letters are spelled out, take out the garbage. What do you assume? The cat knocked the bowl over and the letters rolled themselves? An earthquake shook the house? No. This will be positive evidence for an intelligent being. The amount of information densely packed in a single cell of DNA is far more complex than the letters take out the garbage, and that demands some sort of intelligent mind. Evidence number 3. Life comes from life comes from life and not non-life. To believe that life comes from non-life by accident without a cause is delusional thinking. In my experience, plant life comes from plant life, animal life from animal life, human life from human life. Liz Strobel, a former atheist, says this: "To continue in atheism, I will need to believe that nothing produces everything. Non-reason produces life. Non-life produces life. Randomness produces fine-tunings. Chaos produces information. Unconsciousness produces consciousness. And non-reason produces reason. I simply didn't have that much faith. And frankly, neither do I." Evidence number 4. Order and design points to an intelligent designer. When you look at a building, you don't believe that there is a builder. You know that there is a builder. The building points to a builder. A delicious meal points to a cook. A painting points to a painter. There is design in our universe, and that points out to a designer, and that designer aligns well with the God of the Bible. Evidence number 5. Fine-tuning. Scientists have come up with a word called fine-tuning, and in cosmology it is referred to as the anthropic principle, which describes life to be balanced on a razor's edge. There are so many ingredients that go into allowing this earth to sustain life. These ingredients must remain as they are, or else life will not be supported in this universe. Consider the fact that if oxygen was comprised of 25% of the atmosphere, fires will erupt all over the place and we will all burn to death. If it was comprised of 15%, we will all suffocate to death. The fact that it is comprised of 21%, which is exactly what allows the sustaining of life, demands some sort of intelligent mind. If the earth were a little closer to the sun, we will all burn up. If it were a little further from the sun, we will all freeze. It just doesn't happen to be in the right place by accident without a cause. Another example of fine-tuning is the rate at which the universe expands. This value must be delicately balanced to a precision of 1 part in 10 raised to power 55. If the universe expanded too quickly, matter will expand too quickly for the formation of stars, planets, and galaxies. If the universe expanded too slowly, the universe will quickly collapse before the formation of stars. Besides that, the ratio of the electromagnetic force to gravity must be finely balanced to a degree of 1 part in 10 raised to power 50. If this value were to be increased slightly, all stars will be at least 40% more massive than our sun. This will mean that stellar burning will be too brief and too uneven to support complex life. If this value were to be decreased slightly, all stars will be at least 20% less massive than the sun. This will render them incapable of producing heavy elements necessary to support life. Evidence number 6. The laws of nature. An atheist is an intellectual hypocrite. A hypocrite is someone who says something but they do the opposite. An atheist cannot be consistent with his worldview that there is no God. He says that God does not exist, yet he lives his life as though God exists. Atheists need God to prove that there is no God. Let's look at what it means for there not to be a God. If there is no God, then we don't have a lawgiver. And if we don't have a lawgiver, then we do not have laws. Even if I was to grant that we can have laws without a lawgiver, and that's a big if, there is absolutely no reason for the laws to be consistent in a chance universe, and that is if evolution was true. It is my argument that these laws are derived from the nature of God, of the universe, of the Bible, and therefore have to be consistent with him who does not change. James chapter 1 and verse 17 says, "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, who does not change like shifting shadows." Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6 also says, "For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed." You can see that this lines up with the anthropic principle that we just looked at. God does not change. Therefore, the laws of nature around us, which are derived from God's nature, do not change. If they changed, life on this planet could not be supported. My argument is that the Bible best defines the world around us. Romans chapter 1 and verse 18 to 22, and you better listen to this. "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him that from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things which are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because that, when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools." Have you noticed that it is the learned people who are atheists? You will expect them to use their knowledge to prove God, and yet God calls them fools. He says in Psalms 14, "A fool says in his heart, there is no God." Evidence number 7, morality. If there is no God, morality is relative. That means whether an action is right or wrong depends on the moral norms of the society where it is practiced. The same action may be morally right in one society, but morally wrong in another society. That is to say, whatever my opinion is about anything, the opposite position is also true. If I choose to preserve life, that is okay. If I choose to preserve life, that is good. If I choose to murder people, that is also good. None of these choices is true, and none of them is wrong, and that is if morality was relative. So they are all equal. Morality then becomes a test. It is like you walk into a restaurant and they ask you whether you prefer white rice or brown rice. If today you choose white rice and tomorrow you choose brown rice, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is the worldview of the atheist, which he does not and cannot practice. If there is no God, Hitler and Mother Teresa If there is no God, Hitler and Mother Teresa are the same people, and therefore are going to the same place. Hence, the meaninglessness of life. The atheist contradicts that worldview by how he lives his life. He is an intellectual hypocrite. Just after the Holocaust, the period which Hitler murdered more than 6 million Jews, the perpetrators were taken to an American court. The proceedings stopped because their lawyers argued that the Nazis were just doing what their culture had taught them to do. Somebody had to come up and come forward and say there is a standard beyond us that sets morality, and the proceedings continued. That standard that is outside of us that sets morality is what I am calling God. That standard that is outside of us says murder, torture, rape are absolutely wrong, and that is what I am calling God. He sets the standard for morality, and that is the same for everyone, because he created human beings in his own image and gave them value. Evidence number 8, free will. If there is no God, you cannot explain love. It becomes a biochemical reaction depriving us of free will. Since we have free will, evolution cannot be true. If there is no God, there is no heaven or hell. There is no life after death. All choices are equal, and all things are permissible. You cannot do what you want. You can do what you want morally without caring about the consequences of your actions. I believe that this is what the atheist subscribes to this world. I believe that this is why the atheist subscribes to this worldview. Unfortunately, that does not stop God from existing. Everyone will be answerable to him on Judgment Day, whether they believe in him or not. Evolution is not science. It is a religion. You have to believe in it. Science involves things that you can observe, study, and test. No one has ever observed evolution take place. They also accept it by faith. If you have enough faith to believe that in the beginning everything came from nothing by accident and without a cause, you can surely believe that in the beginning a timeless, immaterial, and spaceless being created everything from nothing. Evolution involves far more faith than Christianity, and I think that there is still hope for the atheist. In the end, it comes down to these two options. Either there is a God or there isn't. Both of these possibilities are scary. If there is a God, we have to figure out who he is and what he wants, and then we do as he says. If there is no God, we are in trouble, because right now our earth is traveling in space at a speed of 66,000 miles per hour, and no one is in control. I want to remind you of a verse in John chapter 3 and verse 19. It says, "This is now the condemnation, that light has come into the world, but men chose darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil." Let me finish by saying this. Even if there is no God, you are still better off as a believer than as an unbeliever. Thank you, and look out for my next study. Blessings be upon you.